I'm Stuart Marshall, and I'm the potter here at Historic Bethabara Park, standing today at the site of the 1756 pottery shop here at Bethabara. And this is the site of the first documented wheel-thrown, kiln-fired pottery in North Carolina. Why was there no pottery business in the colony of North Carolina before that date? It's a good question, and it's something that the Moravians wondered when they first came here in 1752. Bishop Augustus Spangenberg traveled through North Carolina and wondered why almost nobody had a trade. He saw a lot of small farmers, a lot of people involved in the deerskin trade, but not a lot of blacksmiths, carpenters, and certainly no potters. So originally, when Bethabara was first started in 1753, there was supposed to be no pottery shop within the town. The early residents here actually asked the bishop to please send a potter down from Pennsylvania, and eventually he agreed in 1755, sending Gottfried Aust, who was the first Moravian potter here in North Carolina. When Gottfried Aust arrived in North Carolina here at Bethabara in November of 1755, he didn't waste any time getting his pottery operation started. So one of his first tasks was to find a good source of clay. Luckily here in the Piedmont of North Carolina, there's a lot of good clay, and the Moravians had picked a site right next to Monarchus Creek where there was a lot of clay for him to dig in this approximate area, and luckily he found a clay that would work very well. These are all clays that I've dug locally here, similar to the ones that Gottfried Aust used, and you notice that they range in color from a light brown to even a reddish orange, a deeper red, and even a dark gray. Now most of what the Moravians were making here was called redware or red earthenware, but they also used these darker color clays. And when archaeologists came to Bethabara in the 1960s, they found some dark gray clay right here in the foundation. Less than a year after arriving at Bethabara, Gottfried Aust had a very successful pottery business here. People came from up to 100 miles away to buy his pottery, and it was traded as far west as Fort Dobbs and as far east as Charleston and Fayetteville. Most of what he made was very basic utilitarian pieces, such as this cookware skillet. He also made kitchenware, like this porringer, which is a bowl with handles on it. Plenty of mugs, flasks, plates, as well as teapots and coffee pots. And he even made more stylized pieces that the Moravians became famous for, such as slipware plates, which I'm about to show you a bit more of how that process went. Slipware or slip trail plates were made using slip, which is basically a liquid clay. And Gottfried Aust dug a white clay here called kaolin that he could use for a white base coat as well as for patterns. And other elements could be added to the slip, such as copper and manganese, to give it different colors. Now the slip was applied using slip cups, and these are based on Moravian designs of the period. And a slip cup is what you put the slip in. Using a nozzle or a tip here, Moravians used turkey feathers, like this turkey wing feather. They also used goose feathers, and we know from archaeology here at Bethabara that they also carved bone spouts for their slip cups. So you begin by either putting your base coat or by adding these lines here while spinning on the wheel for purposes of symmetry, and then you begin to make your design. Gottfried Aust stayed at Bethabara here from 1755 until 1771, at which time he moved to Salem and began his pottery business there. So I'm going to show you my interpretation of one of his very earliest designs here that we know from the archaeological record that he was making here in that early period before 1771. That turned out a little bit messy, as you can see, but I'm going to show you another design that we know the Moravians were making here at Bethabara as well as later in Salem, and that is the pomegranate. Now we know from archaeology here at Bethabara that they use this symbol, and from this particular design later at Salem. But the pomegranate symbolized Count Zinzendorf's blood and wounds theology, which placed a lot of emphasis on the suffering of Christ, and the splitting open of the fruit represented the blood of Christ.